Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful and still warm British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Zachary Adam Eisenheimer.
And I'm Will Silver.
Yes, we've got Will back on the show just to give us an extra voice. My plan to have a number of rotating third people hasn't quite worked out, mostly due to the time that Zach and me have ended up recording these, often after midnight, sometimes at 1 a.m. But Will, great to have you back on the show. It's just that the football's just non-stop just now. Hopefully you're enjoying all of it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a good time to be a BC soccer fan and a football fan in general, especially watching the Premier League and the Bundesliga and the EFL Championship this weekend. There's lots of interesting stuff.
I can imagine. And I guess if we're wanting to talk about some interesting stuff this weekend, I guess we have to go to Zach and to talk about the end of the Bundesliga season. Now, he set it up nicely on the show last week. I was quite excited to watch it after our chat. Then I totally forgot all about it. Woke up at maybe 8:20 on Saturday morning. Was just checking my phone, reading The Guardian, and they were having stuff about the exciting end to the Bundesliga season. I was like, crap, forgot all about it. Switched it on, but it was just at the end of the games. Managed, because of TELUS lets you put things back. So put it back, watched all the key moments, and Zach, that was a very exciting end to the season, and grudgingly, I will say well done to your Bayern boys.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I can't remember what I said on the podcast last week, but talking to my son this week, I was just like, I said, Kirk, I was like, Dortmund is going to smash Mainz, like 6-0. I said, we're going to struggle to get a victory in Cologne. But when I turned on the game, when we got out of bed, I woke up my son, went downstairs, turned on the game. We put the Dortmund game on the big screen, and we put the Bayern game on an iPad. And as we turned it on, there was one word banner from the Dortmund fans, but their whole thing for the day was just like flares and smoke stuff. And as the match, as the broadcast was starting just before the match kicked off, all I saw was Terzic with this kind of black grayish cloud behind his head, and in that moment I felt maybe there's a chance. And then as things kicked off, as you know, Mainz got that beautiful near-headed goal from a corner to kick things off, and then Onisiwu, who's just been a great servant for Mainz, scored a goal. Maybe a little bit fortunate. Kobel maybe could have done better with his hand, parrying it onto the post into the back of the net. Even at that moment, I still thought, okay, like Dortmund can still come back. But when Haller missed the penalty, or got stopped on the penalty by the young Damian, I was like, I don't think Dortmund's going to win this match. And at that point, Kingsley Coman had already started his wonder strike. And I was like, okay. But I said to Kirk, I'm like, we need to score two or three goals in this game for sure. And as things would have it, we gave away a late penalty.
Yes,
And
and the Cologne fans were going nuts, and the whole stadium erupted, and then that set off the Dortmund stadium, and
well, aside from it was interesting how the things went back and forth the same. Aside from never wanting to be the team that has the title celebrated in your stadium.
oh
Apparently,
yeah,
there's a bit of connection or appreciation or positive history between the Dortmund and Cologne Ultras, and so
ah,
so I think that they were really wanting to help Dortmund out. And I know it was fun. Did
plus
you see
everyone hates Bayern.
Yeah, of course, everyone hates the top dog. But do you see the funniest part was like that they kept on showing that one Dortmund fan in Cologne in the stadium, and he was sad all the time. Anyways,
Oh yeah,
and then so then we give it the penalty, and like I'm just like I would have been okay not winning the title, in one sense, but not by not winning in Cologne. And so I was just like, this couldn't be playing out any worse, And so then when Tuchel made the sub to bring on Musiala for Goretzka, who Goretzka had already been subbed into the match in the second half, was like, oh man. Obviously, he had to go for it. Brought on Tell as well, and that goal from Musiala was just a wonderful strike. The kid is so good and so excited for his future, and he showed bits of it at the World Cup, and it was so great. And then I of course I had my buddies are in the stadium, and they were sending messages and photos, and it was pretty. I wasn't around like I wasn't like watching on TV like for some of the big come from behind victories on the penultimate or final match days in the past for Bayern. I've heard of them, I've seen the highlights, I've sung the songs and whatever, but I never got to experience them, even like this on TV, where in the final moments of the season we won another title. It was pretty amazing. The other huge thing, and it's too bad Steve's not here to talk about it, is on the same day or the same night or whatever, we also fired our CEO and our director of sport. So
I missed that because I was going to make the joke of, oh well, your manager's safe, he's not going to get fired.
No, Oliver Kahn and Hassan Salihamidzic both got the sack, and it was
too close. This one was too close. 11 in a row, but this one was too close.
No, it goes. I mean, with Salihamidzic, with Kahn, it's apparently like Kahn, the vibe and the whatever. Kahn, like he's not a touchy-feely kind of guy, and he apparently his approach has eroded some of the family spirit within the club. For such a big club, it is seen like a family and whatnot, and so there was frustration over that. But Salihamidzic, I mean, all your joking aside, Michael, he is at the heart of the issues over the last few years with the coaches. I mean, one of the reasons why Flick took the Germany job was because he wasn't getting along with Brazzo, and I don't think it's because he was being unreasonable. And the same thing with Nagelsmann. Nagelsmann went because, in part at least, because, and I didn't. There's things I didn't like about Nagelsmann or his style of play and stuff, but the reason he went, I think, was in part due to discord between him and Salihamidzic, and so, it was really interesting. And then to top that off, like Salihamidzic was in the stadium and celebrating with the team, but Kahn was not. And I think it was told to media, Kahn is not allowed to be with the team today because he has a cold. And then Kahn put on his social media like, "Hey, I've been forbidden by the club to be at the stadium today." So there was this kind of like, is it, are they using this? Does he really have a cold, or are they using this as an excuse so they don't want him there because he knows he's going, or whatever? And anyways, the big celebration at the Marienplatz today in Munich, like on Sunday, and it was a double celebration, double champions, the men's team, the women's team. A really great time. I haven't seen all the videos. I've just seen a few of the photos. And really, really excited. And I know, like I said on Twitter, Michael, like I know a lot of people's perspective is because the same club wins. Yeah, it's not worth watching. And to that, I would say you're missing out if you choose not to watch it based on that reason alone.
I mean, that is one of the reasons I don't watch it. The other is I don't really have a team to cheer for because I would want to go for one of the smaller teams. Borussia Mönchengladbach would maybe be a side I would pick just because there's a line in a half man, half biscuit song, Supercalifragilistic Borussia Mönchengladbach.
We've had this conversation before. They're one of the biggest, most traditional clubs in all of Germany. So it's not like you'd be choosing a small.
I know. So
whatever.
Maybe I'll take a team that goes up this year if there's a small team that goes up. I don't know.
There's 2 small teams going up. Darmstadt is making at least their second appearance in the Bundesliga. It might be more than that, but they're second in the last decade or so, or 2 decades or so. But I think Heidenheim has been promoted for the first time ever, and I've just been avoiding.
That could be my team. Are they East or West Germany?
Oh, I'm pretty sure. My memory serves correctly. They're West Germany.
Just wanted to make sure I'm on the right side for my team.
There's not a lot of clubs in East Germany other than obviously Dead Bull. Energie Cottbus used to be in the Bundesliga, and then the Berlin clubs.
Dynamo Dresden.
Dynamo Dresden, they've been in the Bundesliga for a while, but one of the Berlin clubs will no longer be in the Bundesliga because Hertha has been relegated. I don't know all the picture on the bottom because this weekend so far I've only watched the 2 games. I haven't watched all the other games, so I've been avoiding some of the scores. Although someone did message me, and I'm pretty sure Schalke is down as well, even though I haven't watched their game yet or the other games around it. And
you don't have to worry. I don't think we'll be spoiling it for you.
Okay, perfect. But I don't know who's playing Hamburg in the playoff. I'm pretty sure it's Hamburg again in the playoff. And I don't know if it's Bochum or...
might watch that. I did watch one of the legs last year. I've got to say, because I don't watch a lot of German football, I was very impressed by the crowd. It seemed fantastic atmospheres at both games.
Well, like I tweeted, the Bundesliga is not. It's not just about the football. To me, it's the on and the off the pitch.
The stadiums.
Totally that too. The stadiums haven't returned to pre-COVID fullness. The way they were always virtually always full before. There's been a number of matches this year. You watch the game, you're like, wow, okay, there's a whole section there in Wolfsburg that's empty or whatever. The stadium's maybe two-thirds full or whatever. You're like, oh, that's not a great look. The supporters, the choreos, the tifo, the pyro, everything is really at a great level in the Bundesliga, and it's so enjoyable to watch. And like I said, I usually watch on a normal week 6 to 8 matches a week, and just absolutely love it.
Well, thanks for joining us on the show this week. Well, that was our 2-hour show, just wrapping up there. Hope you've enjoyed that.
Wrap up.
Yes, but we're stepping on Manuel Vest territory here. So I mean, what football were you watching this weekend? Well, I watched the Luton Coventry playoff final, which was a bit of a disappointing game, but it had a lot of drama because Luton kept getting goals getting chopped off for various reasons. Sadly, Steve's Coventry didn't make it. I was wanting them to go through. I've got my specials 2-tone Coventry top that I like to wear. And then I watched the run into the Premiership today, which wasn't as exciting as the Bundesliga. But my favourite part of it was when apparently the West Ham fans were winding up the Leicester fans by pretending that Bournemouth had scored against Everton and that Leicester were safe. And then they were all celebrating, and then it came through, oh no, we're just having a laugh.
That's mean but funny. Yes. As a neutral.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I support Newcastle United, so I was definitely watching the game today. It wasn't the most interesting, and it basically was
I watched the game on Monday where you were in complete control, and then for the last 5 minutes you were hanging on with your fingernails.
Yeah. Well, I always quote you, Michael, squeaky bum time.
Yes, that was.
I also, I have this, I don't know if it's an affliction or what, but I support my friends' teams. This is how crazy I am. So I tend to watch games that my friends' teams are playing just to see how they're doing. So I didn't have Bayern Munich on, but I was watching the Dortmund game, and I think I texted Zach and just said, Dortmund is pooping the bed. What? So, But yeah, I mean, I watched that game, and I rewatched some of the other Premier League games. But yeah, no, pretty exciting end to the season, at least in Germany. It was a little anticlimactic for the Premier League, but it's I'm happy because we finished fourth.
I mean, it's when things get down to the last day and it's very exciting. It's good. I've been trying to catch up with the Scottish results just before we're recording this, and I haven't got to the end of the Hibs Hearts derby. It's tied at 1 apiece. Hearts are down to 10 men, and whoever wins that game, well, Hibs have to win it to clinch a European spot, and if Hearts just draw, they'll be in. So I'll complete that as soon as we finish this. I've got about 10 minutes, I think, of it to go in the sports scene highlights. But enough of chatting about football elsewhere in the world. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of the show and talk about Canadian football. And we're going to start things off with our cup competition here in Canada, the Canadian Championship. And the final is set, Will. It's another all-MLS affair. It's going to be at BC Place on June 7th. The Whitecaps will be hosting Montreal. Montreal beat Forge 2-0. Now, that was a game that I had to leave at half-time to make my way to the stadium in Langford to make sure I got parking. Because if you don't get there about an hour or so before, there's just no parking. And it was a crap first half. And then, much like when the Whitecaps York game in the quarterfinals, where I got to watch the first half live, which was crap, I missed all the action in the second half, but Montreal went through 2-0. And then the Whitecaps beat Pacific FC 3-0, and BC is no longer purple.
Yeah, it's funny. I saw that tweet by the Whitecaps where it was almost like, I don't know, a retro Marvel
the superhero
or something.
Things. Yeah.
BC is blue.
Yeah.
I didn't mind that too much. I was talking to some friends who just thought it was all silly.
Yeah,
but
I saw it get panned online. I didn't quite understand the hatred towards it. I thought it was fun. And
I didn't mind
I
it
like
too
those
much
kind
myself.
of things.
Yeah.
And like James Merriman has been bigging up the whole purple thing for a while now. When he beat TSS, he was like, oh, I guess BC is still purple. Well, nope, it's not anymore. It's blue and white. And I was going to say, long may it continue. Well, until TSS beat the Whitecaps and it turns red and black again.
I just have to raise my hand a little bit here. It is a rivalry, and I want to win, but I don't have any ill intent towards Pacific. I
didn't until the TSS Rovers game. Although it's mostly Josh Hurd that I hate now, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I'll just let you guys know they hate us. They hate Vancouver.
Yes. They didn't do their jersey or bring Whitecaps merchandise to the game this time around.
No, but they were, when I went with Zach and other people to the Vancouver FC, they were selling shirts in the merch booth that said Beat Vancouver, and there was some posters up around that said Beat Vancouver.
Yeah, because they've got a tie-in with the hockey team there as well, and it's like a soccer hockey thing. I love that. Yeah. And I said in an earlier show, I feel like CPL terms, I feel more towards Pacific than Vancouver, because that was the first CPL team I watched and was cheering on. So I'm not just suddenly going to switch allegiance and be back in Vancouver just because, well, they're not even really in my backyard, but they're closer. But I still like, I like Pacific. I like what they do there. I love the stadium. Like a lot of the guys involved with the club. And yeah, I felt fear. I'm kind of joking about the TSS thing. I feel no ill feelings towards them either. I was hoping for a better game than it was. It was very one-sided. And we'll get to the whole Ali Ahmed injury as well, which basically overshadowed everything and disrupted everything. But it wasn't the performance from Pacific that I was expecting.
No, and it wasn't even really the performance from Vancouver, except for a bit of a stretch in the first half.
Well, see, that's the thing, though, because it was disrupted.
Yes.
The first 17 minutes, they were looking rampant, and I thought, oh, they're going to put up 4, 5, 6 here.
Yeah, and they were just starting to really roll. I know we didn't want to talk about the injury, but just when the injury happened, I mean, they were rolling. It looked like you were saying it was going to be 5 or 6-0, and then the rest of the game it just seemed flat, right? So
yeah, I mean, understandably so.
yes,
I mean,
definitely.
Zach, did you get a chance to watch much of it? Did you watch it live? I can't remember from us chatting back and forward.
Yeah, I couldn't watch the first half live. I watched,
Oh,
I think,
that's
all
right.
the second half. I
Yeah.
think I turned it on. Actually, I think I saw the end of the first half. So I didn't see the injury. I
Probably
have it on
because
the
it went on for an extra half hour.
yeah. I have the game recorded on Fubo, but I haven't gone back to watch the injury, and obviously they haven't shown it. Or I haven't seen them. I didn't see them later in the broadcast where he showed the injury because
No,
it was so
because they showed it
significant.
about 20 or 30 times, like
Oh, when it
while
happened.
Ali was getting medical treatment, which I thought was
Uh,
absolutely shocking.
Well, my God, I messaged you because the first thing I saw, actually, I think, was this image of the white sheets, and I was like, "Wait,
Yeah,
what?" Because
Oh yeah,
nowadays when you see the white sheets, obviously you think of Christian Eriksen or whatever, right?
yeah.
yeah,
So I was just like, I think I texted you right away. I'm like, "What happened to Ali? Is Ali going to be
Well,
okay?"
when that came out in the
Um,
stadium, like we were genuinely very concerned
oh
because,
yeah,
like, we watched it live. It was a heavy coming together, a fair coming
yeah,
together. Like, there's no foul in
yeah,
it. I
yeah, yeah.
mean, it's like some folk were saying, "Oh, should have been a penalty. It was a heavy tackle."
No,
No, it was a proper football tackle, and it's how Ali fell that
yes,
caused the damage and the hard turf. But he fell so awkwardly. His arm was bent at a weird angle. His
yeah,
head whacked off the turf. So when we were watching the replay back, because a few of us then stuck one soccer on our phones or our laptops just to kind of see what was going on because we couldn't quite tell from the press box. It's like they kept showing it over and over, which is I
yeah,
say I thought was disgusting and like totally disrespectful. But I feared that he'd broken his neck.
yeah.
And then when the sheets came out, you're like, oh shit, this is really, really serious.
Yeah. Well, I was watching at the Southsiders bar with friend of the show. I think I can say, I'll just say it. Greg Petrie and
Yes.
Sarah Petrie and Ryan Burns, and we were just stunned by the whole thing. Actually, Torsten Ricketts was sitting a little bit behind
Oh,
us as well.
oh,
But
what was he saying about that must have
well,
been
yeah,
scary for him.
he said very similar to what you said. It's, it's a fair challenge, but it's just unfortunate and really horrible to watch.
Yeah.
They did show it over and over. The first time I was like, well, what even happened? Because
Mm.
he was like rolled over and
Oh,
like,
yeah. And it's fair to show it once, maybe
yeah,
twice. But then as soon as you see the
yeah,
gravity of the situation,
exactly.
you've got to take the call in the production booth to stop showing it. And in the TSS Pacific game, they were focused right in on the head injury between Conor
Yeah,
McMillan and Amir Didic and right in on the blood and everything. And it's like, okay,
yeah,
we're watching a football match here. You don't need to do all this.
yeah.
There was an incident actually in the Luton Coventry game. There was
Mhm.
8 minutes in, and the Luton captain kind of, it looked like he was going backwards, caught his cleats in the turf, went down, tried to get up and collapsed. And there was a lot of worry then around him as to, oh,
Mhm.
what has happened? Is it another Ericsson situation? And the camera crew there cut away and never went back, never showed the thing happening. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's how these situations to be should be dealt with.
I totally agree with you. I think it was, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it felt like a slow burn to me. Like it didn't seem that bad at first. And then I agree with you. There's a certain point where it was like, oh, well, this is way more serious than it first appeared. And like Zach said, the sheets come out and you're like, oh my God, what's going on?
Yeah.
What's going on? This escalated. But yeah, it's definitely, I think when the Ericsson thing happened, they handled it kind of right. Once they figured out how serious it was, they really stopped showing it, right? So it's definitely a difficult one to know how to call that, but there is a certain point where you just have to stop showing the replay.
Yeah. It changed the atmosphere in the stadium as well. Because at first there was still noise coming from the Lakeside boys, and then they realised the gravity of the situation. And then the longer it went on, you just knew how serious it was. And I mean, I was sitting there and like genuinely, because I've spoken on the show before. We've got a really good relationship with Ali. We love the guy. We've talked to him so much. I've talked to him last year at WFC2 games, chat to him this year, and he's such a lovely guy, and you just want the best for him on and off the pitch. So because we have that kind of relationship with him, I felt sick, and it just took me out of the game. And for the rest of the match, I didn't really care what happened, and I was like messaging Nathan at the Whitecaps, is everything okay with Ali? And it's like, well, he's gone to hospital, he's conscious. We'll give you an update when we know. And then at the press conference, I got to ask the first couple of questions, and the first question obviously is, forget the game, any update on Ali? So, I mean, the good news is, amazingly, it's just a concussion, which is obviously still serious. And with the way that he hit his head, it's like going to be a very bad concussion. But considering what was going through all our minds, from dislocated shoulder, broken arm, has he like broken his neck? Concussion was one of the things folk thought about as well. It's kind of amazing that is all, when you see how hard he hit and how his body bent, that's all he's come out of it with.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But that did kind of change the game. If we kind of look at the game, we won't delve too much into it, but Whitecaps took the lead in the 14th minute, Julian Gressel, and it was one of those incidents in a match where the game's just gone from end to end. One team doesn't take their chance, and then the other team just goes up the pitch, takes their opportunity, and puts it away. So Pacific had a chance. The ball had come into the back post, and I think it was Saloof, if I remember right, that had the chance. Takaoka makes the save, and then the Whitecaps broke quickly from the rebind. Alessandro Schott tore forward, played the ball outside to Gressel, who fired a fierce slow one into the far corner, past Gazdorf, and the champs, defending champs, had the lead. And as soon as that went in, I was fairly confident the Whitecaps were going to go on and get the job done. Because last time, when they fell behind, they were chasing the game. Now this time, they were in the ascendancy from the start. And then 3 minutes later, it was 2. Ali Ahmed, the ball not headed fully clear from the corner, comes to him at the end of the box, strikes it home. It's 2-0. Caps looked home and dry by that point.
Totally
agree. That goal was very reminiscent of Pacific's goal against Vancouver FC in the opening game of the CPL this year, where it was not a great headed clearance that fell to someone who then kind of smashed it in. It wasn't as good as Aparicio's goal in that game, in my opinion, but it really, really reminded me of it when I saw it on the replay later in the broadcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It was a quick double strike that turned the tide of the game ultimately.
I mean, Pacific pushed hard to get back into it, and they didn't. I mean, they huffed, they puffed, they threatened a little, but the Whitecaps, I mean, they were looking comfortable. I think if they had managed to get the breakthrough, it would have made for a very, very interesting game. But the Whitecaps completely fell out of that first half, well, understandably after the injury. And Julian Gressel spoke about it after the game as well. It was just hard to get their focus back. And you do kind of wonder if, like, maybe they should have taken the players off the pitch to maybe just regroup in the dressing room. Maybe they just didn't know how long the thing was going to take. The referee apparently did ask, do you need a little more time? And they just kind of wanted to get on with it. But 17-minute stoppage is huge for players, for both teams to deal with mentally. And it was Pacific that dealt with it better because it's not their player. And they came out fast. I think they probably realised, look, this is our chance to get back into this, because the Whitecaps' minds aren't going to be on it. But apart from a few close calls, they didn't really threaten to get that one goal back even.
Well, there were some good defensive plays.
Yes.
And some good saves as well.
Yeah, Takaoka had a good one from Aparicio towards the end of first half, and Daniels had a looping header that was tipped onto the bar by Takaoka as well to end the first half. One of those went in, and then you've got a completely different second half coming up.
Exactly. But it did feel like the spirit was out of the Caps, and Pacific was sort of driving a lot of the passing and the possession.
Yeah, I think the Whitecaps seemed happy to give the ball up. Aparicio had a great shot about midway through the second half that Takaoka turned away at full stretch. But then it was a case of the goalkeepers, really. And Zach, we've been talking all season about Emil Gazdorf. Did not cover himself in glory with that third goal from Simon Betcher and dropped today for their game. Whether that was coincidence or whether that was planned or I don't know what, but that was another horror one from Gazdorf.
That's 4 howlers this season. Like it's getting to a point where 2 have gone through his hands. That one sort of went through his hand. Actually, you could say that one sort of went through his hands. So 3, and then the other one went between his legs, I think, from the weak shot from Passius from Forge. I talked to some people about it, just saying like, hey, like this is obviously not good enough, but there is, I think, a sense that they need to, that they're choosing, and we'll talk about this more, I think, later in the show. They've chosen to go young at the goalkeeper position.
Yeah,
they've chosen to, and going young, obviously that impacts your cap and what you can do at other places, and you see that in their squad, in the squad building at Pacific. So they have 2 young keepers, and they're gonna roll with them. I don't see them changing that this year, but yeah, Gazdorf has great potential. And he's still learning. What is he, like 18 or whatever, or 19 or whatever? He's really young.
19 and the other one's 21.
21, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, you need to allow him to make mistakes. And obviously, this one didn't cost them the game. Like the Forge one absolutely did.
Yeah.
But it's that James Merriman is concerned and frustrated.
Well, the local journalists that were there were talking about this. It's like, oh, do we have a goalkeeper controversy on our hands? And I was trying to pitch the idea of their headline of you've got Basket and Basket Case as the 2 keepers, but they weren't quite buying that as their way to go. But yeah, they need to get a grip on that. James Merriman,
I honestly, I don't see them changing, Michael. I think they're going to roll with this.
Yeah, I mean,
for the year.
It might have to be the Kevin Keegan approach. You just score 1 goal more than the other team. Throw that in for Will as his Newcastle connection.
Michael, that's the plan for every club in football.
Well, yes, obviously, but it's like that was definitely the Kevin Keegan thing. If they score 3, we'll score 4. So you've got to have the players that can then do that. If you're letting in a goal or 2 goals a game, you've got to get the players that can score then 2 or 3. If you keep in clean sheets every game, you're guaranteed to at least get a point, and you just need to score once to take all 3. James Merriman said after this one the Whitecaps were decisive, they were clinical, the goals came from Pacific mistakes. He felt they were naive in the crucial moments and just found it all very frustrating. But, I mean, hopefully they'll learn from that, take it into the season now, because they've got this to focus on. They kind of focus so much on trying to maybe get to the Canadian Championship final, maybe get to the CONCACAF Champions League through that. So now they have to turn their attention to trying to get there through the CPL. For the Whitecaps, they've got a chance now to make history for them and win their first back-to-back trophies. And this is the best opportunity for them to do it. Obviously, they only have had one other time to do that. But, I mean, Montreal's found a bit of form. We did just spank them here 5-0, but I think that was Montreal in a very different mindset.
Yes.
But you've got the home advantage. You've got the midweek travel. Whitecaps have to be big favourites going into this.
No, I totally agree. And I think, when we played them earlier in the season, I think they were still getting their legs. They've shown that they're a lot better. There's just so much turnover and change last year, especially, they gutted their defense. There's just a drastic change, and I think they were getting used to all the new faces and to the faces that had left, and they picked up some steam.
So, I mean, it is a great chance for the Whitecaps. June the 7th, can't wait. The final last year against TFC, that was a magical night. Hopefully the fans will come out for this. I know the Whitecaps worked very hard to fill that stadium for the TFC game. They've got shorter time to do it this time, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to see a lot of ticket initiatives from the Whitecaps in the build-up to this game, trying to get that full house. I think it was over 24,000 that they packed in for that TFC game. Hopefully they can get close to that, if not match that, for this time around, which I know is a tough ask. The first of the ticket initiatives has been announced. The Whitecaps are going to provide financial support for League One BC hosting opportunities, with $1 from every Canadian Championship final ticket going to support the next League One BC hosts in the Canadian Championship and Women's Interprovincial Championship, which is going to be held this August here in British Columbia. So the Whitecaps have announced that $1 from every ticket sale will get split evenly towards the men's and the women's teams. And as we talked about on the show, that the cost for TSS to host that Valor game was about $35,000 all in. And yes, they did get some money back from ticket sales and sponsorship and stuff, but nowhere near what it cost to put it on. But they were aware of what those costs were, and they were happy to take a bloody nose if it meant it raised the profile of the league and it raised the profile of that level of football across Canada. So, I mean, that's all fantastic. And another initiative from the Whitecaps is all League One BC teams will have the opportunity to secure $5 per ticket kickback to them through their own unique group links. So watch the social media for all the League One BC sides. TSS Rovers fans, watch for that ticket link going out as well. If you buy your ticket to the Whitecaps Montreal Cup Final, $5 from every ticket sale will go back to TSS or whatever affiliated club that you've clicked through on the ticket link. So that is another fantastic initiative from the Whitecaps as well. I want to give kudos to them. Well done. But hopefully they can get a good turnout for that one. And if the Whitecaps can go back to back, that would be fantastic. Booking another spot in the Champions League very early in the campaign, then they can turn their attention to league business. And that's exactly what we're going to do next, after this.
Hi, I'm Ali Ahmed. You're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Stars beneath the sun, so take me in your arms again, lead me in my dreams again. So what is it worth? I'll sell my soul. What is it worth? Only you know.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's one of the final two songs that we're going to bring you from our Artist of the Month here at AFTN for May, Irish band Ash. That is a standalone single that they released called A Life Less Ordinary, the theme song from the 1987 Danny Boyle film of the same name, starring Ewan McGregor and Cameron Diaz. reached number 10 in the UK charts, and it's a fantastic song. We've got one more song to come by Ash to kick off the next part, but in this part, we're turning our attention to league business, MLS, still Whitecaps, because they were in action on Saturday night against St. Louis City, the first meeting between the two teams, the new expansion side in MLS, making history by becoming the quickest expansion team to reach the 25 points margin. MLS Will just has all these little things. It's like firsts and, the first team to do this in 9 games, the first team to do this, reach this point threshold. Some of them just seem so random, but that said, it's a good achievement by St. Louis, and it's been, I think, a start by them that surprised many, many people around the league.
Well, I just incidentally, I totally agree with you on that, where it sometimes feels like they have to come up with drama. You know, they have to come up with stakes. And I was watching...
that's why there's all the rivalries that they have to come up with, forcing them.
Yeah, rivalry week. And I was watching the Portland KC match today in KC, and they were saying like, well, they may not be rivals geographically, but these teams are rivals. You know, like they were trying to,
it's so annoying. It's like everything's forced. Yeah. And it's like, I mean, you do get that. You get that around the world, right? Even in the UK, a much smaller country, you get random rivalries like Brighton, Crystal Palace hate each other. And you've got stuff like that just comes kind of almost from nowhere. But it wasn't a great evening for the Whitecaps in the gateway to the West, as one of the city's many nicknames. I was looking up to see what the various nicknames were to see if I could get a pun for my headline, which I didn't in the end. So not a great evening for the team. An even worse one, I think, if you're Thomas Hasal. He got the start in this one well. Yeah. And like we talked about it on our show last week, so I'd like to get your thoughts on it. It's like you've got a player making a fair whack of money that is the backup, and you do need to have a quality backup. But the issue that you've got with a backup then is at some point he might have to get thrust into action without really having any games under his belt. So you've got Isaac Boehmer and Max Anker, who are splitting the time in WFC2. Hasal's just been sitting on the bench. We thought he would maybe get the nod in the Canadian Championship, but as soon as Takaoka started in that York game, you were like, well, he's clearly not going to get this, because you're not suddenly going to throw him into a semi-final with a spot on the line and trying to get some revenge from the defeat a couple of years ago. So it's a really difficult one, because he has to get some playing time, and we're going to talk about that about another player. But then you throw him into a game like this, and it's a tough outing for him that's probably done more to his confidence than giving him a confidence-boosting start.
I totally agree. So a couple things. The goal was great, but I don't think it was purposely supposed to be aimed for the net. I think it was... No,
so we're talking about the first one, Edouard Leuven's free kick. Yeah, he was not going. That was a cross-come shot, one of my favourites.
Yeah, and I think that is part of what sort of threw Hassel off. Now, he kind of didn't get to it or judge it right, but it also, like, curved. There's a wicked curve to it, and it was not really intended to be a shot. So it kind of threw him off, but at the same time, he should have done better.
Yeah, I think he should as well, Zach. And I don't know that Takaoka would have done much better, because he's a shorter keeper. It's just the way that placement went. It was a freak kick, basically, and it just went into the postage stamp corner, and just... I mean, if Hasal had stayed on his line, could he have got to it?
Well, that's the issue, is he misreads it initially and he steps forward.
Yeah,
I mean, that's where you can criticize his, whatever abilities or match fitness or whatever. That's the problem, that he was unable to recognize the flight of the ball from the kick and steps forward and then makes a bad, maybe even mistimed jump, if you will, and he's not able to get a hand to it, and it looks like it's a great goal that is really a mishit shot.
Or miss it cross.
Yeah. And it's one of those freak things. It's not what he was aiming for. It then looks stunning, and the keeper looks at fault. And I'll put my cards on the table now. I hold Thomas Hasal full stroke part responsible for all three goals that the Whitecaps gave up. And the second one, the own goal.
Owen.
Yeah, Owen again doing the business, this time against the Whitecaps. He's come back to haunt his old team. And there's a lot of blame to go around in this one. Blackman with a header. Now, for me, a defender shouldn't just be heading back blind. It looks blind. It doesn't look like at any point he's looked to see where Hasal is. And, I mean, one of the first things you're taught when you're playing football, especially as a defender, is you don't head the ball back on goal, and you just try and get it away from the danger area. Now, this is when it comes down to, was there communication?
Yeah.
Because from the video, and obviously it's impossible to tell, but from every single angle that they've shown the goal, I don't see Hasal making an indication that he shouted to come and get it and say, my ball, or play it back to me. So if there's not a shout, then the defender rightly is going to think, well, my keeper's back there, I'll just head it back to him. You should still look, I feel, but I just think with Hasal flying off his line the way he did, I don't know if he was expecting to come for the ball. If he was, he has to give that shout. And Vanni said afterwards it was a breakdown in miscommunication. I think it has to go on Hasal, though.
I tend to agree with that. I mean, I think if you're going to go forward, you have to call for it, right? So I think that was part of the major problem there. It's just a miscommunication. And like you said, not enough playing time, not enough playing with the players in front of him.
Yeah, getting
recently.
that chemistry going.
Yeah.
Because it does take a while. And it's hard enough when the back line's rotating in and out because of all the games, but Takaoka then has that understanding with a number of his things. And I think a very telling thing, especially in the Leuven goal, is the reaction of the Whitecaps defenders. And they looked pissed off at that, and there was no hiding it. The second goal, Hasal looked really pissed off. I think he just knew just what had gone wrong there. And I feel for the lad, because he's a good keeper. But he needs to be getting playing time to go to that next development. And you've got Isaac Boehmer, you've got Max Anker. I feel that they're both very good backup keepers that could come in when needed and sort of play a game. And I don't know that Takaoka needed rest in this one. But I do wonder if Vanni kind of looked at the schedule coming up and thought, this is the only time we can really get Thomas some minutes, because it's a long trip after a midweek cup tie, difficult place to go, not sure what we're going to get from the game. He did well in that Champions League game that he came in and played, although a couple of little errors. But I think if you were going to play him in a game, this was maybe the game to do it. But it just backfired big time.
It totally did, and it backfired because the thing he was missing was match fitness, and you put him into a match and you just absolutely smash his confidence.
Yeah,
right. Like this is the problem, and I don't know on what level the salaries coming out add to this, but like we talked about last week, he is on money because they were projecting him to be the number one. And then they either felt like he's not good enough, we're going a different route, or an opportunity came up to get someone else of a higher caliber, and they took it. And I think that totally doesn't help the situation. I don't know how that weighs on him as a player or whatever, but it just doesn't help the situation, at least from the perception wise of Whitecaps fans. And so, yeah, it was, yeah, I agree with you guys. He needs to make that call. If he's coming for that ball in that way, he needs to call off Blackman, or say something to him, because for
me now, I think Thomas Hasal has to get loaned out somewhere in the summer. because I think you can just ride Takaoka for the season, even the League's Cup and stuff that's coming up as well. It's like, have him as your number one, play until he gets injured. If, God forbid, something happens that he does get injured, I've got faith in Bomer, I've got faith in Anchor as that backup. They can still get their playing time in WFC2. Thomas can go maybe over to Scandinavia, maybe to the CPL, and get some playing time there. But just talked about Pacific, where maybe needing an experienced keeper, but they might not go that route. That would be an ideal opportunity for him to get some playing time as well. But it put the Whitecaps in a huge hole. 2 goals down at the half. And the annoying thing for me in this whole game, Will, is I think this was an even game. And a draw would have been a fair result. I don't think St. Louis were 3-1, 2 goals better than the Whitecaps on the night. I definitely think the Whitecaps could have got something out of this. And, I mean, you saw it. Like, when Brian White got that goal to set up what you hoped was going to be a grandstand finish, at that point, and I said this on the radio last night as well, I thought the only team then that was going to get another goal in this match was going to be the Whitecaps, and they might come away with a 2-2 draw because they were pretty dominant in the second half. But overall, there just wasn't much to choose between these two teams, apart from mistakes.
I mean, this is the other thing. Despite the fact that St. Louis is pretty high in the table, they didn't look great either.
No.
So, I mean, and maybe it was also sitting back a little bit too much, but I agree with you. There was really an opportunity there near the end.
The goal that got the Whitecaps into it, like the Whitecaps had been pushing, they'd had a couple of chances. White, I think, should have had a goal before this. The header that Ranko had, the corner comes in, Ranko meets it, his header goes to the back post, and both Cordova, who we'll come to soon as well, and White are there. One of them has to make a run towards that ball and attack that ball. And I think White was in the better position to get to it.
Totally agree. I mean, I think White had a couple of really good opportunities that went amiss, and point blank shots and things like that.
But then the Whitecaps did get back into it in the 83rd minute, and it was White that did the damage. Before we get to his finish, Julian Gressel, once again, I think this is his 5th MLS assist on the season. That delivery, which he's been doing all year, I mean, that was just absolutely pinpoint. We spoke about this in the post-game show as well. Colin Miller was like just raving about it. And this quality that Gressel brings, and I want to have a discussion with you guys as well in a sec that we actually had on the show, but that ball in, absolutely perfect. He makes those passes and those crosses look effortless, and then White rolls perfectly to head it home, and it's like, that's the kind of delivery White needs. It's on a plate for him. But yeah, going back to Gressel, effortless.
Yeah, I mean, he's really the most valuable player so far this season. I know it's early, but he's just, the crosses that come in, his movement, his shots, they're all, just really, without him and the team, him and Kubas kind of make this club.
Yeah, they certainly have this season. They're the standout guys. Now, a discussion that we were having on the post-game show is Vanni, and we've spoke about this on the show so many times, he doesn't like wingers. But when you see those balls coming in from Gressel, and I know he's thriving in the number 8 role, but all his stuff is when he's gone out wide. Isn't it perhaps time for Vanni to revisit that and maybe look at adding wingers? Because that's when the Whitecaps are looking at their best. That's when Brian White's getting onto these balls. You've got somebody like him that can cross on one side. Luis Martins has got a good delivery. Ali Ahmed's got a good delivery. Ryan Raposo as well. I think we need to relook at this a little bit and maybe look at having wingers, even just for the odd game, depending on the opposition.
I totally agree with you.
But Michael, to be fair, Julian Gressel has done a really great job at, even though he's supposed to be central, getting into wide positions on the right
Yes.
and using his incredible crossing ability. And that's what happened on this goal. And it was, I don't know, I can't remember them all, but I think, or remember the few of them, but I think that was Brian White's best goal of the year that I can think of. Like
Yeah.
clinical downward header. I think he made the keeper, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
He
Yeah.
rose so well to beat that. I genuinely thought they were going to go on and squeak a point out of this. But then they give up a third goal in stoppage time. And it's a great moment for the guy that got it, Miggy Perez. On Thursday, he graduated high school. 2 days later, he gets his first goal for a homegrown player for St. Louis. He's only their second homegrown player. So it was a great moment from him, a local lad doing the business. But Thomas Hasal again on the free kick. And what I will say here is he's not the only one that does this, because Takaoka has done this a couple of times this year as well, which is spilling the ball. And I feel that the Whitecaps defenders should be getting quite used to this now and reacting a little bit quicker. But it's St. Louis that were in, got that rebound. It comes in then to Perez. He blasts home a fantastic finish for the third goal and puts the game to bed. But again, you're pointing fingers at Hasal, you're pointing fingers at the defence, and it was another Whitecaps mistake that let them get it.
Yeah. It was the least bad of the goals.
Yes.
But yeah, it was still a goal that they'll be very, very disappointed to have given away. And again, going back to what you were saying before, Michael, what I do remember about this one was you talk about the look on the faces of the defenders. Own goal, Blackman did not look happy. And I don't know if it was a full droop, like a full drop of the head, but yeah, you could just see the like utter disgust on some of the defenders.
Yeah, that could have been a very interesting locker room, some of the discussions after it. And there was a lot of deflection after the game that we'll come to in a sec as well. I just want to speak about some of the performances. Simon Betcher got the start that I was delighted with. And because he comes from the area as well, it kind of was a good one for him to get that. Wasn't his best game of the season. He had a couple of chances I think he could have done better with. He had a little bit of trouble sometimes getting the ball out of his feet.
Yeah, when he was trying around the keeper.
Yeah, but he's a young guy. You're going to get that from it. Just like with a young keeper, you're going to get mistakes. And you do expect that. Maybe not 3 in a game, but you are going to get that from younger players, and it's just something you have to live with. And a player like Betcher, you'll hopefully learn from that. Hasal will hopefully take stuff from this as well. But it was good that he got the nod for this, even if it wasn't his best game. I was obviously absolutely delighted to see Levante Johnson make his MLS debut. Had him on the show last week. He was called up, didn't feature for the Pacific game, and when I saw that, I was like, oh, he's going to get some time on Saturday. And I clarified exactly what the rules are around this as well, because there was a little bit of confusion on my part. So, all the WFC2 players can be called up 4 times in the season. That we know. They can play twice from these call-ups. That we know. What I thought, and I'm sure this was different last season, but maybe I'm wrong, is that the cup games counted, so US Open Cup, Canadian Championship, but they don't. So they can be called up 4 times, and they could play 4 times in the Canadian Championship. Or they could be called up 4 times, play twice in the Canadian Championship and twice in MLS. So the 2 appearances are only for MLS appearances. So this is, I think, Levante's 3rd call-up now, and he's appeared once in the Canadian Championship, once in MLS. So you can still get another call-up, and he can still appear in MLS, or he could get called up again and appear in the final. But, I mean, it was a small sample size. He didn't look out of place. I like that we've had another guy come through from the 2s and actually get some time on the pitch. And it wasn't a case either that Vanni thought, oh, we're trailing, I don't want to throw him in. It's like, oh, we're trailing, here's a guy that could possibly turn the game around for us and maybe get us back onto level terms.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification because that is important and that is valuable to uh well, to all clubs that take advantage of it. But in this case, obviously, the Whitecaps. I hope for him he'll get if if not all four, then at least three of those games. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's a good thing if he's has to come on in the final, or maybe they're up by so much he gets to come on in the final of the Voyageurs Cup.
Yeah.
But you
I mean,
hope for sure.
yeah. I
You hope
mean,
for sure he gets another like a good MLS chance, maybe
yeah.
even longer or whatever. But
He's
um,
such a nice lad as well, and I like speaking to him last week. Like before we were chatting, him and Sebastian were going through their FIFA teams that they were picking and stuff, and he's another one of those guys that you just wish the very best for, and a good Canadian prospect as well. Another guy out of Brampton. So you've got guys like him doing well. You've got guys like Simon Betcher doing well, and the flip side of that, sadly again, is Sergio Cordova, who I keep trying to give the benefit of the doubt to, because it is a double-edged sword. He isn't match fit. He needs to get this match fitness. He needs to get this match sharpness. You're only going to get that by playing in matches. But when he's playing in the matches, he's not performing to the level that we need him to perform to make that difference. So then what do? Do you start him and then you're not getting best out of him? Are you bringing him off the bench and you're not getting the best out of him? I would have liked to have seen him get some games under his belt in WFC too, just to get 90 minutes in, get that fitness coming. They could still do that with him if they want. It's getting to the concerning stage for me. We've had DP strikers that have just simply not performed here. Is this another striker that is going to do that? I said when we signed him that I was concerned. Yeah, he had a great season last year for RSL, 9 goals in the league, 2 in the playoffs. But you look at his stats as a forward, and he's been playing in higher level leagues over in the Bundesliga or whatever. That season last year with RSL was his outlying season, where he outperformed anything than he'd ever did before. Have we regressed back to the mean this season? Are we going to see the best out of him? Discuss.
I definitely see that he's not match fit. He's been gassed a bunch fairly early in games when he started, 20 minutes into a game. But, the other thing I have to say, Michael, is some of it doesn't seem to be match fitness. He's making some very poor decisions about passes.
That's fair.
The last game against St. Louis, there was a bad weighted pass. There was a horrible pass versus Pacific. He just seems awkward on the ball.
He does. He looks really awkward on the ball at times.
Yes. And then he plays.
It's like, did we sign the wrong player?
Yeah. So I mean, to quote my friend Greg Petrie, I don't see what the Whitecaps saw in him. So, I mean, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I see the conundrum that you're bringing up. It's like, we want to give him more time. We want to get him to get comfortable. We want him to get up to match fitness. But I have some genuine concerns that I just don't think he's as much quality as we thought we were getting. But, I guess still a small sample size, but it is getting very concerning to your point.
I mean, we're not quite at the Ali Dia stage with him, Zach, where he's convinced us that he's a different player because he obviously played in MLS last year. That's still a fantastic thing. If you don't know what that is, just Google Ali Dia. I think we played a Wavelength song about Ali Dia as well. In short, he pretended that he was the cousin of George Weah and got a trial with Southampton. Anyway, Cordova's giving me Ali Dia vibes, just in his awkwardness on the ball. It's like, have you seen a football before?
it is a bit strange, but it is weird that, yeah, I know we talked about this. I remember, I think when the signing was happening or when the interest was whatever was going on, that, yeah, his best year obviously was with RSL last year. And with all because I think Overhaul was still involved in this acquisition, if memory serves me correct.
Well, I mean, Vanni came out and said that was his number one target. He had identified that was the guy he wanted to fit his system and to do what he needed to do.
Yeah, so that just makes it feel really kind of weird and awkward because, you know, the sample size of goodness from him has been not super high. The thing he had going for him was he had done it in MLS, which is
Yes.
obviously something that MLS teams love to
Yeah,
see.
that's what excited me by it. I mean, I didn't watch tons of him last year, but I was excited that we've got a striker finally that has performed in MLS. It's what I've
Yeah,
always been crying out for.
but it was just 1 year in MLS,
Yeah.
and not just MLS, but any league, you can be a player that, clubs and players don't know how to play against. And then you can, let's say, overperform.
Yes, that
And and
you
and
made
and,
that point when the signing was made, and it's still a very valid point.
and I think the other thing is too is I don't know what his whole contract situation was, but we know that players sometimes overperform when they are in a position of needing a new contract, wanting a new contract, wanting to create something because, like in his case, he was on loan from
Yeah,
Bundesliga Clyde
so
to
you want to get
Bundesliga Club
that
to an
deal,
MLS side. Yeah, you want to get that deal, and obviously it helped him.
but then as
And
soon as you've got the DP tag round your neck as well,
yeah,
more is expected of you, rightly or wrongly. It's like that's just how it is.
I think though it's late enough to obviously say it's not early days for him,
Yeah,
but but it I think I think he has at least he has the potential to still come good. Like he
yeah.
could
I still
still
want him
maybe.
to. I hope he
Yes.
can because the Whitecaps need him.
Yes.
And they've tied up a DP spot in him, so it's like they need this guy to perform.
They
They need
absolutely
to get
do.
him
Yeah.
fit, and it's like get him some time in the twos. Have him playing with Gloria Amanda and Antoine Coupland and Levonte Johnson, and just maybe they'll help bring something out of him, get him up to speed, and just get something clicking. Maybe he'll get that first goal, and then we'll go on a streak. It's what I want. It's what we need. We'll see if it happens. The last talking point. So, were you going to say something there,
I just
Zach?
want to talk about one performance. You have another performance you want to talk about?
No, no. I was going to move on to Vanni's
Oh,
post game rant. So, yeah, if you've
okay.
another performance,
Yeah, I want to. I just want to. So, uh, I was had a meeting to attend, and so I didn't watch the game live. I listened to the first half on the radio, which was very interesting. And then it was on TSN. Do you guys know the game was on TSN, or at least part of the game was on
yes.
TSN?
But did you know that it didn't start on time on TSN?
Yes, I did
Yes,
because I
as you
went back to
probably
watch on the
came back and
PVR.
checked your
Yeah,
PVR, and
yeah.
you're like, "Oh, the Thunderbirds are on," but
Well,
it's not
that
even
that
UBC.
before I checked my PVR, I saw comments online.
Yeah, as
But
soon as it wasn't starting, and I saw there was like 4 or 5 minutes of the hockey to go, I was like, "I'm just going to Apple," and it's
but
better
so
commentary.
because of the because of the because yeah, so I didn't sit and watch every minute of the stuff, and the radio didn't paint this picture for me. But my question for you guys is, in terms of performance, is Vanni Sartini was very clear on his perception last year and I think the year before, yeah, both years, that Jake Nowinski is not a right back. How much did he have his team attack Jake Nowinski at right back in the game?
Mm.
Right? Like to me,
Yep.
if as a coach, if I've publicly said something, obviously then I go do it. I'm going to go and like it seemed like an obvious thing to do, and it
Well,
didn't seem like I know
especially
he got.
when he's on a yellow
Yeah, he
card
got a yellow
early.
card, right? Yeah, so he got a yellow card in the first half, right?
Yeah, and he should have been sent off for a tackle in the second. I think that should have been a second yellow.
I don't think I saw that one.
Oh, see, that was one of the
Oh, that
controversial
was one of the. Oh, yeah.
refereeing
Okay. Yes.
things. But yeah,
Okay. I heard.
basically,
Sorry. I
the
did hear
ball
about
had
it.
gone out, and Jake clattered. I can't even remember who he clattered into now, but it should have been like that tackle at any other time on the pitch is a yellow card, so it should have been a second yellow for him.
Right. Anyways, so you guys are both saying they didn't really key in on Jake much.
No, I don't think they
No.
did, Will.
No,
And
I
they
don't
maybe,
think
they
they
maybe
did
should
either.
have. I mean,
The-
Jake is having a good
I
season
know.
there,
Yeah.
but
Obviously, he's
it's
having a
like
good
they should
season.
know
Things
his
are different.
weaknesses as well from having him.
Yeah. To me, just
This is
based
when
on
you
his
needed a
comments
winger
alone.
to attack him there.
Yeah. Or you had to have your wing back do a job or whatever, or fullback do a job. Sorry, but Yeah, I do. Okay, I just find that I just want to hear you guys' thoughts
No,
on that.
that's a very, very fair reflection. The other thing that I thought is, like, once he was on the yellow card and once Tim Parker was on the
Parker,
yellow
yeah.
card, they should have gone for both of
Oh,
those
yeah.
guys and just tried to force them into something. And again, having a speedy winger could have caused some issues there. But there are other guys on the pitch, as you say, though, that could have done it. I also maybe one other performance that I want to mention. I don't know if there's anyone else for you, Will. I thought Luis Martins had a good game. He's been a bit up and down this season, but I thought this was one of his better games, and I liked what I saw from him.
Yeah, no, agreed. He played a lot better than I seem to have remembered. He's had some games that, again, selective memory, but there's certain moments where I'm like, oh man, he really hasn't been playing very well this game. But
it's one of those things, they'll stand out when they have a bad game.
Yeah.
When he's doing good and it's what you're expecting, you don't remember it as well.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I noticed that as well.
But the post-game talk was all about Vanni's refereeing comments. We'll get into those in a sec, but let me play you some of Vanni's post-game audio from the press conference. He also went on a rant on the radio as well, which was very similar, but a bit stronger even, and more angry on the radio, so check that one out. But here's what Vanni had to say about referee Sergi Boyko after the game.
That it's hard to win when the other team has 12 men. So that's the initial thought. And if we don't receive a letter from the league that apologizes for the shameful performance of the referee, it's something that the league can do it and should do it, because it's for the good of the league, because we export this product away. And when there's something that is completely shameful, unfortunately shameful, because it looked like the referee was a player for them. It's really hard to comment the game with, I would say, trying to get into the thing that happened on the field.
You have some strong opinions there. Why do you feel that it was shameful? Why do you feel that he was kind of playing for
every we didn't have any foul. Every foul for them was there. Every half and half. It was always two different measurements, never the same. And Jake should have been sent off. The free kick, it's our fault. Thomas made a mistake, but it's not a free kick. At the end, it's a free kick for us. They whistle a free kick for them, and they scored the third goal. And the management of the game was on one way. Probably he had a bad day, and I'm sorry for him. But if the league doesn't recognize that, there's a problem.
Did you talk to the ref? Did you kind of explain your thinking, and what was his response?
He didn't respond to me, and I didn't want to talk with him, because if not, I would have been angrier than I am now, and I would have said things that I would later regret to say. So better not to speak.
He's a gaffer. You can try it on with him. He's the gaffer. Even when he's on a limb. He's a gaffer. When his back's against the wall, has the answers to it all. He's a gaffer.
So that was some of Vanni Sartini's thoughts about the referee from the St. Louis game, which to me was total deflection, really, from things like Thomas Assal's mistakes and the defensive mistakes. But I updated the report and reaction piece on AFTN. So just to go over some of what he said there. I mean, in short, he's saying it's hard to win when the other team has 12 men. That was his initial thought. He's wanting to receive a letter from the league apologising for the shameful performance of the referee. He's getting fined. We can basically say that. It's going to be a big fine. He again said that MLS is exporting this league across the world, and then there's something that is completely shameful, unfortunately shameful, because it looked like the referee was a player for them. I think this was a complete overreaction. I mean, I don't think Boyko had a perfect game. He made quite a few mistakes, I thought. Jake Nowinski, red card. But, I mean, well, were you watching it and did you come away going, oh, it's all because of the referee that we lost that?
No, I mean, other than near the end, there was, some questions, but I thought for the most part, I didn't really notice the referee that much, which is one of the best things you can say about a referee.
Yeah.
I know this is a bit of a sideways story, but things like this remind me of the time that Zach and I and some others were in Seattle and were cleaning up and came down an elevator to the back area of the Sounder Stadium, and Matt Geiger was explaining why he had given up 2 penalties to I forget the player's name. He used to play for Dallas. What was that guy's name?
I forget
David
the guy.
Ferreira?
No, he's playing for Vancouver.
Oh
Yeah, big El Raton.
Yeah, El Raton.
yes,
And
Blas
the
Perez.
Panamanian
Blas Perez.
yeah.
Former
Blas Perez.
AFTN columnist as well. Blas
Oh,
Perez.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved Kai in the Curva used to say, "Hey, cheater, cheat for us." And anyway, so Matt Geiger was explaining to a bunch of fans in the back and or something, like explaining why he had given 2 penalties to Blas Perez. It was quite a moment. So it's nothing that bad. It wasn't Geiger worthy. So I hold that as the benchmark of unfortunate referee life choices.
Didn't we have what's his name? Matt DeCap made I don't know, it was a 2-stick or a railing banner or whatever. It was a Geiger counter.
Yeah. I remember that.
I mean,
That was so good.
Boyko, I think it's a lot of criticism put on him. Obviously, next time he gets a Whitecaps game, there's going to be pressure put on him. Vanni said that he didn't speak to him at the end, but the TV pictures showed that he seemed to have a go at him. And I know he's angry, and he is a player's coach, and he's taking the heat off the players, but by having a go at the referee. I just think it was way over the top and wrong in this case. And he is going to get a big fine. I think that's pretty sure.
I think honestly, you nailed it earlier, Michael, when you said this is all just a distraction to take the light off of the poor performance of his team, and in particular Thomas Hasal.
Yeah,
like Marino used to do this kind of thing.
Oh,
not the same kind of way, but he used to say stuff and do stuff just to distract from a situation with his players, or a poor performance, or a poor run, or whatever. Like,
because this is what everyone's been talking about on social media on Sunday, and even folk in St. Louis have been going on about it as well. And it's like, so that I've seen chatter about Thomas Hasal, obviously, but yeah, Vanni's comments is the thing that's got the more play. So in that case, I mean, it's worked out good, but he did make a joke at the end of his interview on the postgame show, where they said, well, we'll see you for the game on Wednesday. And it's like, well, hopefully I won't be in the stands with you. I think there's a good chance he might be.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, that game coming up on Wednesday, the game's still coming thick and fast for the Whitecaps. It's an incredible period of games, really. It's an 8-game month. They've been basically playing Wednesday, Saturday. You've now got a league game coming up on Wednesday against Houston. Then they're at home to Sporting Kansas City on the Saturday. Then they're at home in the Canadian Championship to Montreal. And then they're at home to Cincinnati, which will be a tough game the way that Cincinnati are playing just now, the Eastern Conference leaders. But these next 2 games that are coming up at home, you've got to be looking for 6 points from this, Will. And we touched on this on the show last week, so I'd like to get your thoughts on this as well. The team just simply can't win away from home just now. It's coming up for a year, which obviously makes these home games most important. Houston, Kansas City, you've got to be looking for 6. But what do you feel they need to do to turn around this away form and start to get some wins on the road?
Yeah, I mean, I think, personally, there's so many chances, and nobody's quite finishing them. Brian White isn't, clicking the way he should, and that's one of the biggest thing. There's just been some really poor defensive communication or decisions. And so, just even like with Hassal and Blackman in the last game, there's been some poor giveaways. I think Gauld had a kind of a bad one midweek. So these things happen, obviously, but and Cordova had been giving up really poor passes that have been poorly weighted. But yeah, I think they need to score more, and they need to get some of these defensive problems under control.
Big game against Houston. They have been doing the business at home. Can they do it away from home? Then Kansas City, who got a big win today against Portland. We'll delve into our MLS roundup and our CPL roundup in the final part of the show, and that's coming up after this.
Hey, I'm Julian Gressel, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part is the final song from our Artist of the Month here at AFTN for the month of May. From Ireland, three-piece band Ash. That was their biggest hit that they had in the UK, reached number 5, taken from their debut album 1977, released in 1996. That was Goldfinger. Nothing to do with the James Bond film, nothing to do with toilet paper that is a little bit too thin either for you.
What?
That's an old joke, because you know the James Bond film Goldfinger.
Yes,
and
I'm familiar.
The theme tune goes Goldfinger, da da da. There used to be an impressionist in the UK that did a Shirley Bassey impersonation, and she would follow that up by going, "Should have used a thicker toilet paper." So that just sticks in my head whenever I hear Goldfinger. But
I can imagine, because I know your head.
Talking about shitty things, let's round up the rest of the MLS action. And then we'll get on to the CPL, which for me is not as good this season as it has been in previous years. Maybe there's just been so much football I haven't been getting into it. But yeah, we'll go round MLS and we'll just kind of round up the action in the MLS West with a little nod as well to our Canadian friends out east. The Western teams started with a 2-1 win for Houston over Austin. Another home game, another 3 points for Houston, and it's the team the Whitecaps are going to be playing next. Austin took the lead in this one from Jizzy Zardes before Herrera tied it up in the 37th, and then Franco gets the win for Houston 3 minutes from time. So another good 3 points there for Houston. You had a draw between Minnesota and Salt Lake. The action coming in the first half, all in the space of 3 minutes, really. Savarino giving RSL the lead in the 28th minute. 3 minutes later, a Justin Glad own goal made us share the points for Minnesota. Just rattling through these. Colorado went down to a 1-0 defeat to another team that the Whitecaps are going to be playing soon, Cincinnati. LA Galaxy went down at home to another defeat to the Clit. Swiderski getting the winner in the 73rd minute. Red card for Chicharito in the 85th minute. And things are just going bad for worse from Greg Vanni.
So Chicharito was lucky. You've seen the video clip, right?
I haven't actually. I'm just about to play it just now as we're talking because I thought I haven't actually watched the segment.
I haven't been able to hear the audio from it, but it's one of those situations where like whatever the fans are demanding, whether it's their jerseys or whatever. And then Vanni's there and they call Vanni over and he has this like long discussion. I haven't listened to the audio. I don't know if the audio is you can actually hear it, but it's awkward. So Chicharito was not lucky, but it probably in one sense he was probably happy to be sent off so he didn't have to deal with that.
I mean, it's a second yellow and it's just a coming together. He does lift his feet slightly off the ground. I mean, it's a heavy coming together. It was kind of a 50-50 for me, but I don't think there'll be any real appeal on that. But
have you seen the video of the fans though?
No.
Oh yeah, at the end of the game.
I haven't seen that at all.
The whole team comes over, or a bunch of the teams there, and then they call over Vanni. And now, mind you, there's like hardly any. There's like the section's like quite empty compared to before their boycott or whatever it was. But yeah, they want Klein out, which I'm more apt to. I think he needs to go before Vanni personally, but
see, that's an interesting one because I think there needs to be a lot of change. But it's like, are they going to say, well, we have faith in Vanni, we just don't have faith in those above? So to get the best out of Vanni, we need new men at the top. Give him this summer to try and rebuild the team and get them out of the mess that they're in.
To me, it's not the same, but it's like what we talked about with Bayern at the beginning. These Klein and these others have been guiding the construction of the team over the last number of years. I can't remember how long he's been there now, and yeah, I think like similar to the Bayern situation, I think Klein and his colleague need to go before the coach goes. So it'll be interesting to see how that continues to develop. Obviously.
It was a 1-0 draw for another California side, San Jose at home to Dallas. A lot of action late in this. Kikanovic gave San Jose the lead in the 70th minute. Tafari tied it up in the 94th before Judson got a red card 10 minutes into stoppage time. So a share of the points there. Haven't had a chance to watch highlights for any of these games, so there might be some really exciting stuff that I haven't had a chance to see. Seattle beat Red Bulls New York. Another red card in this, but it was 1-0 for them. Jordan Morris, after me saying he hasn't looked good after his good start, got the game winner in the 22nd minute. João Paulo sent off though in the 75th. And Seattle just rolling along, getting back into winning ways. Just watching the sending off for João Paulo there, and
did Morris get injured?
Yellow. Who get
Jordan
injured?
Morris? Jordan Morris get injured?
Oh, that I don't know. In this game?
Yeah, I thought so, but I could be wrong.
Oh, yes, he's exited with a groin injury.
Yeah, I think he's done for a little bit.
Ooh. Yeah, leaves with a groin injury, which is...
And they're playing Portland.
Oh, he injured his groin on the game-winning goal.
Yeah.
Not good for them. It's an adductor strain, Schmitzer said after the match. Groin injury, however you guys want to phrase it. He thinks he'll be back in 2 weeks.
Those can be tricky. abductor issues.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a few guys here that those couple of weeks go into 4 weeks, then to 6
Yeah.
weeks, and yeah, it's not always an easy fix. That was all the action from Saturday. One game today, Kansas City spanked Portland, talking of Portland, 4-1. Now, I've PVR'd this. I haven't had the chance to watch it. You said you had, Will. What did you make of this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think Portland didn't play great. Definitely the second half, Kansas City picked it up, and
Portland took the lead in this one as well.
Yeah, exactly. It was definitely the second half where Kansas City just showed their quality.
And another own goal as well. He's been getting about this week to give Kansas City their third. But Kansas City, on the whole, have started to turn things around. So little concerning with them then coming here. Looking at the Western Conference standings, Seattle's victory sees them leapfrog to the top of the table. Well, they were kind of there anyway, but stay at the top of the table. They leapfrogged St. Louis, who were temporarily there after the win over the Whitecaps. Seattle, 26 points from 15. St. Louis, 25 from 13. And LAFC, 25 from 12. So 3 games in hand for LAFC. Dallas in 4th and 23. San Jose, 19. Minnesota, 19. Houston, 18. Vancouver hanging on to a playoff spot in 8th and 17. Staying there because Portland lost today on 16. Austin on 16. Salt Lake on 16. Those two teams below the playoff line. Kansas City making inroads now. They're up to 12th on 13 points. Colorado dropping as much as Kansas City are rising. They're down to 13th now on 12. And LA Galaxy, 3 points adrift at the bottom. And I mean, do you see Vanni going anytime soon, Will, or do you think they're going to persevere in the hope that he can turn that around?
I think they got to drop him soon. But, I mean, there's bigger problems there.
Yeah. And the problems in Toronto, we'll just quickly touch on that to round up our MLS roundup. They did get a win at the weekend, a much-needed win, but Bernadeschi dropped after his comments last weekend. There'd been lots of reports in the paper that him and Insigne were having meetings. Insigne was asked after the game if he was happy with the coach. He backed him, said he's happy in Toronto, not to believe everything you read in the press, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, there was some weird, I forget it was on One Soccer or somewhere else. No, it was Kalen Kyle. Kalen Kyle on Apple TV supposedly had made a comment that Insigne and Bernadeschi don't get along, which I saw some Italians saying they've never, ever, ever, ever heard that. Or like people who follow Italian football closely. My question for you about this game was, Bob came out and said, look, Bernadeschi was offside and making the comments that he did, which I thought was kind of interesting. Then obviously dropped him, at least in part due to that, or maybe holistically due to that. I saw an image today because Insigne set up both goals, right? I saw an image today, and I don't think it was photoshopped, but it looked like it's Insigne giving the middle finger to some section of the crowd or individual, or I don't know what.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I've been out busy commentating today and missed.
I don't think it was doctored. I can't remember if it was on Twitter or where I saw it.
I haven't seen that, but that would be interesting.
That maybe will not go down well, but yeah, I mean, and maybe it was photoshopped. Who knows? But I mean, maybe they're starting to turn things around. It was a good win for them against DC. 2-0 up, gave up a late goal, held on though for the win. DC United in this game made a first half triple sub.
Oh.
Wayne Rooney said afterwards he wished he could have had 11 subs to make. That's a way to keep your squad on side. Let's turn our attention to the CPL next. And Zach, you've had a busy day. You were one of the few that were out in Langley for Vancouver FC by the looks of it. Did they announce a crowd for this one?
I saw someone online say, mention a number of sold tickets that obviously was not in line with the number of people in the stadium. Yeah, it was even in the stadium. It was definitely lower than the Ottawa game, which is just unfortunate.
Well, it's probably because Zach Verhoeven's crowd of about 3,000 people weren't there.
Yeah, there was who were we playing? Oh, there was some.
Well, there's some
policies,
I would think were there. Yeah,
yeah.
wonder if Mateo was out to cheer his brother on.
I don't think there was that many though. Definitely not as many as the.
That many policies?
Yeah, there was.
Luigi have been there.
Yeah, but no, it was.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, I mean, like we talked about before, Michael. You can view this as frustratingly poor, or there's all kinds of reasons which you've given some good perspective on in the past, but like, yeah, for me, I don't know. It's me. It's you when you're starting a football club. It's like a blank slate, and you're painting it, and obviously you want a full, beautiful picture.
yeah,
And that picture is not full yet, and so you can look at it and be all negative and down in the doldrums about it, or you can look at it as, like I said, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, as an opportunity to shape it and mold it, and so.
yeah. But this is the
it.
AFTN Soccer Show. We like to take the depressing doom and gloom thing. Plus, if this was the Whitecaps, you'd be ripping them for the poor crowd. But anyway.
Yeah, but that's you're talking about a football club I appreciate and one I don't. So I mean that's the contrast. And also a football club that has not done anything wrong by the public at this point yet, and one that has done a lot wrong in my opinion. So yeah, but what I will say is I won't make excuses. Like it is poor and it's not as good as it should be, and
I don't think it's what they were expecting either. From our chats with Rob, who had been assured by local clubs, we can sell the venue out every week for you just with our members alone.
Yeah, and that, to be fair, and I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn, but that has been part of the issue. Like I think we've talked about before, Michael, a significant amount of their time and energy in terms of larger, whether group sales or whatever, has gone into working with local clubs, and the, let's say, enthusiasm of TDs or higher ups has not played out fully through those organizations. So it helped obviously the first game for sure, and now they're kind of from what I understand, and we saw today was like Coquitlam Metro Ford Day or whatever.
It was also firefighters appreciation.
Yes, yeah. But in terms of youth clubs, they're doing like one youth club. The first game, was like
which I do like.
Yeah. So the first game was all youth clubs. Now each match has like a designated youth club kind of thing.
Okay. I'm obviously being a little bit facetious, but like to be serious, Will, and like we had a little chat of this during the game and stuff as well. And I was having some chat with some of the TSS guys and with Felipe as well. It is concerning that a team is starting off and maybe not getting the good crowds or keeping hold of the crowds. On the other hand, it is also understandable because it is a new team and you're still building a fan base. But it's concerning because the weather's good.
Yes.
If we get some rainy days, what are we going to see crowd-wise and stuff like that? That's what we kind of have to now, I guess, have a gauge of.
So what I'll just say is, to start, I feel for Vancouver FC, and I feel for, Zach has been very active in supporting and trying to build something there, and I think he's doing a great job.
Yeah, your section looked great tonight, Zach, I thought. Yeah,
and I want to say that, in my opinion, none of us should take joy or glee in something doing poorly like this.
Oh, yeah, I am
because
not.
If you love football, as I think we all do, I go out to TSS Rovers, I'll go out to other League One BC teams, I'll go out to UBC Thunderbirds University football because I'm an alum and I just love football. So I'll go and watch anything. I do not want to see any of these teams do poorly. Anyone who is taking glee in this situation, I mean, I sound like an old man, but shame on you. I
No,
mean,
you're
if
quite
you like
right.
football, you should be supporting all of this.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily have to root for the team, but you shouldn't wish them ill. And this is ill. So I really don't like when people do that. You don't have to support the team or even go to the games, or if they're playing your team, whether it's TSS Rovers or Pacific or the Whitecaps. If that ever happens, you don't have to root for them, and you can root for your team to win, but you shouldn't root for a team to do poorly. And so I hate seeing this.
There has been a bit of tribalism of late, and I think part of it has stemmed from this whole ridiculous Shan Hundle quote and looking like they're having a go at the Whitecaps, so there's been a little bit of stuff thrown back their way. But this is my serious and genuine feelings on this, and I've been concerned about this for a while, that we're oversaturating the local market with teams to go and watch, all playing at the same time, all their seasons colliding at the same time.
I'll also say, and you know, I understand that this is a new developing situation, and but I do think, you know, that it was a mistake calling it Vancouver FC, and anyone can read the tea leaves after. I just think that when you call it Vancouver FC, to your point about oversaturation, you're then directly putting yourself next to the Vancouver Whitecaps. And for a long time, if you search Vancouver FC, you would get the Vancouver Whitecaps, and still a lot of the results are clouded by that. So you are directly putting yourself next to that club. Again, just trying to be fair on everyone. And I think that was a big strategic mistake. Instead of planting your flag in Langley, and I know that some of the name recognition may not land well in Ontario or Halifax, but at least it's a place, unlike Pacific or HFX or Valor. So it is a place. You can Google it. Surrey might have had more brand recognition, but it is what it is now. The decision has been made. Let's try to make this club work. You know, and I agree with you. It's hard, especially because we also have League One BC coming in at the same time. So there's a lot of football
today.
Now.
For an example, I was commentating at the altitude games, which meant I couldn't get out to Vancouver FC, and I'm sure there's not a huge overlap between the sets of supporters, but Vancouver FC did go and play a game against altitude to try and attract supporters from the North Shore. Unity were at home today in actually it was in Chilliwack. So you've got folk maybe wanted to go and watch that instead. Again, it's maybe not a huge amount, but you've got a couple of folk there missing, a couple of folk here missing. It's a beautiful day. Folk have other things to do. I saw in the Facebook group for the Fanatics Act, there's a few folk trying to sell tickets for the games today as well. There's a lot going on in the summer outside of football. You've got the BC Lions back as well. Now you've got all these football, soccer clubs playing in the same period. Their seasons are all overlapping, and you can't avoid clashes. There's going to be clashes. There's a clash this Friday with WFC2 and Vancouver FC, and again, there's maybe not a huge overlap of the fan bases, but there are fans that want to go and watch all these teams, and then they might have to make a choice. Money as well factors into it. But the other aspect, which we've talked a lot on the show about, Zach, is, and this is affecting the Whitecaps this year with the Apple deal, you've got a new club starting out that people, the majority of people in the catchment area, haven't had a chance to watch them on their TV screens yet, unless they subscribe to One Soccer. So it's hard to market a club that way when folk haven't seen them on TV.
I think it's not the same due to the fact that One Soccer is available on TELUS, and two, what I'm guessing is a significant amount of football people in the Lower Mainland have Fubo TV because they want to watch the Premier League.
Yeah.
Not the reason I have it. Obviously, I have it for one soccer, but I think the majority of people have it for that, and so
I just cancelled my subscription today at the end of the EPL season.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to be adding one soccer into my TELUS thing because it's only $5 a month. And if you're a fan of Canadian soccer, I highly recommend, if you've got TELUS, to do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's totally. If I had TELUS, I would do that. I probably should do TELUS because my place is on TELUS, but I might not. But no, I don't think that's as big as a challenge as the Apple TV thing is personally. But
no,
I might be dead wrong.
That has been a tough one this year for the Whitecaps. But I mean, it will factor into it because you're trying to launch a new team.
Sure. Yeah.
And there's going to be people that have no idea what the CPL is. So they're not going to have one soccer because they haven't got a clue what the CPL is to begin with. They might not even know, despite the marketing that's been done, that there's a team playing out in Langley in this league. And that's what I think is the big challenge for Vancouver FC. I think they can do a lot of things better. I still think they need to tell more stories of the players to have people have an attachment to the team, have an attachment to the players. Losing Caden Chung's a big blow as a local guy that you could market.
Totally.
But I don't know what the answer is.
I'll say this again. Like, to me, at this moment, and maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll shift gears in the future, but I'm not interested in making excuses. To counter your point about the hey, it's a beautiful day in the Lower Mainland, you got a million things you can do. It was a wonderful day to watch a football game. It was sunny. It wasn't too hot. There was a nice breeze. I put on sunscreen just because I burn easy, but
I did too. As I sat freezing in the shade under a tent in North Van, I actually had a fleece on. I was that cold.
There you go.
So and folk are probably looking at me going, "What the hell's wrong with this guy?" I'm like sweating buckets here.
But yeah, it was a little bit. Yeah, sorry. It was a great day to be at the stadium, even if it was with less people than ideal. And yeah, I think I want to keep working. Being involved with the Fanatics and doing stuff like I've been enjoying. And so yeah, it's been great.
They showed some clips for you guys towards the end, and you were all like swinging back and forward together, and you all looked happy, which is part of going to watch football. You want to be happy.
Yeah, totally. So, but yeah, every game there's always like new people who come by or come by. Like today was a dude with his kid. He came by and hung out, and then saw him in the parking lot. He came to talk to us, and we're like, "Yeah, come back. You're always welcome. We have space for you." That's one of the great things about where things are. There's always space for people. The safe standing I've been really enjoying it. It's a lot.
Yeah, I want to go and check that out whenever I get to a game, which will be in June. I'm targeting. I think there's a game on a Tuesday night. I think that might be the game that I think that's the game I'm going to get out to as my first game. Oh, that's a good one to have.
You should come to Pacific on Friday.
I'm going to WFC too. I've told you.
Oh
that.
Yeah, you told me that. Yeah.
Also, it is.
Are you commentating, or you're just going to WFC too?
Oh, I'm just going because I love the team.
Oh right, yeah.
Maybe see Sergio Cordova get a run out.
But no,
one could hope.
I had an enjoyable day.
Let's talk about the game, because I didn't mean to talk this much about the crowd. It just kind of developed into that. But I didn't get to watch the first half because I forgot to PVR it on Fubo, and I was commentating, and the traffic back from North Van was awful. So I watched the second half, and it didn't strike me as a very exciting game in parts, but Valor... How many goals did Valor get chopped off?
Only the one that I recall.
Was it the one? Because the one that I saw, the commentators made it sound like there had been another couple that had been chopped off that I might have missed. But I thought...
There's only one that I can remember, but... Or maybe it might have been two, actually. Sorry, it might have been two.
Valor looked more dangerous, but then Vancouver FC had that great chance in stoppage time. Was it Hundo it fell to?
No, Hundo passed it back to Amir Kinani. But yeah, that was a great chance. But we had on the whole, like I was, I don't get to see the whole game, although I see more than I usually do because we got multiple people doing stuff. But I haven't watched the whole game back, but I've watched the highlights or whatever. Both in the stadium and from looking at the highlights, I think Valor had more chances than we did. But I think I would say that we had the best chance of the game, which was when Kane, with a sort of interesting ball, came. I can't remember who put it into him, but Kane hit the crossbar in the first half.
See, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, you haven't seen. It's in the highlight package.
Right.
I think you can see it there. But that was the best chance of the game, and we had others. Like you said, the one at the end. Sandoval was sort of in one time, and he couldn't chip it or couldn't lift it over the keeper, who's quickly approaching, and so it was great signs. A couple of things just about, like, without breaking down the game, is the team continues to battle. Like the team, like, there's this never give up. Obviously the 5-0 was a very difficult day, but
then you bounce back with 2 clean sheets as well.
2 clean sheets, first ever clean sheet on the road, first ever clean sheet at home. So like lots of really, really encouraging things. Also, not just talking about the players, but talking about the coaches. You saw Afshin again just recognize that we're not creating enough. Obviously, we're not scoring enough, and so to try different things. That starting lineup, TJ started, which was amazing. He continues to impress and look every bit the part at such a young age, which is so encouraging. And then there's he just shifted the front around a bit. Gale came off at halftime because I think he's got a bit of a niggle, and then he brought on Amir, and he brought on who's the other individual. But anyways, he brought on Crawford to play left back. Kwok went to right back, and they pushed Ibra into what I thought at first was a midfield role, but then Ibra was essentially playing center forward.
Yeah, because Felipe sent me his kind of match analysis of it, which I didn't manage to get up before this, but by the time this comes out, it will be up on the site. So I was reading it, and he had that, and I was like, oh, wow. It's an interesting decision. Yeah,
but those players that came on at the half, I think I really have a lot of time for Crawford. I thought he did well. Amir was not bad, although obviously wish he would have scored. And then the later subs weren't great. Like Nicky didn't look great. Robe didn't look great when he came on. And I can't remember who the other sub was in the game. But I just the way the tactical, the formational kind of switches that Afshin's making, you could see he was going for it. You could see he was putting everything in to getting a win. That was it was encouraging. The squad is limited. I can't remember how much we talked about this in the past, Michael. I know you and I have talked about it on our own, but there was a player that was supposed to come in that didn't come in.
Yes.
That was a significant player for them, and that has hindered things.
It does feel like they badly need an out-and-out striker. But then what team doesn't?
Yeah. This player might not have been a striker, but I definitely think in July you'll see at least one striker and at least one midfielder come in. And I
still think Theo Bair could be a guy that comes in, at least to the CPL, if maybe not in Vancouver. St. Johnson's got their new manager. He hasn't been featuring.
I wouldn't be disappointed to see Theo Bair. I like Theo Bair. But I think there's opportunity for even more experienced players who might.
Camilo.
No. Camilo's like I predicted at the beginning. I think Camilo's wage demands makes him not an option for the CPL.
And he's not really. I mean, he's near the tail end of his career. I mean, I don't know.
I wouldn't be opposed to someone near the tail end of their career, but not for the way.
Well, you've already got Sandoval that's maybe not lit it up the way folk were hoping as well. And I know he's not fully fit and he's got some niggles, but that point today moved Vancouver on to 7 points from their 7 games, so they're averaging a point a game. They're 6th in the standings.
Yeah,
and we won't go through all of the games this weekend, but more draws. It's been quite incredible.
Except except for the one game was Forge beat Atletico.
Yeah, 1-0.
And I just want to say I've kind of been a little bit critical, maybe even you could say negative, of Tristan Henry in the past for Forge as their keeper, and he absolutely stole them 3 points. Both the volume and the quality of chances that Ottawa had, and for Forge to get a 1-0 victory was crazy.
Well, I mean, Forge out on top, 15 points, Pacific second on 12, and then York, surprisingly, sitting in third. And, also surprisingly, the only team without a draw.
Did York win?
They drew...
They 1-1 against
1-1.
A Cavalry. Okay.
Oh, no, sorry, they beat Cavalry 1-0.
Yeah, they beat Cavalry 1-0.
Yeah, they beat Cavalry
okay,
1-0. I'm mixing all these games up. Yeah, they beat Cavalry 1-0,
but
because they haven't got any draws.
Pacific tied 1-0.
Yeah, that was the one that I was thinking was 1-0.
Reed got his first league goal, which was, I think, his first league goal, which is great for them.
Yeah. So Cavalry and Valor, 5 draws each from their 7 games, and Halifax, 6 draws from their 7 games.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
How many do we have? 3 draws, is it? Or 4?
4 draws.
4 draws.
Forge, the only team that's unbeaten.
It's got to be 3 because we have a win. We have 6
points. It's 4 draws. It's one win.
Oh, we have 7 points, right?
Yeah, 1 win, 4 draws.
Yeah.
So Pacific, Cavalry, Valor, and Halifax all in 1 defeat because of all the draws. It's been crazy. Have you had a chance to watch much of the CPL this season, Will?
Well, mostly Vancouver. I've seen some Pacific games, but I've been watching all the Vancouver games. Yeah, I mean, so far it's not as exciting as some of the past seasons.
Yeah, because I was just thinking today, I kind of feel the quality isn't as high as some of the previous seasons.
I think part of that is you knew more of the players in the past.
It might be that, yeah. I maybe just took more interest in it.
Yeah.
And I've been watching more games actually this year in full rather than just the highlights as well. But I don't know, it just hasn't grabbed me the same this year. But it's probably because there's so much football to watch. Just to round up our roundups, I just want to give a quick mention to League One BC in the women's division. Nosimo out in front, 16 points. Nosimo, Unity and the Whitecaps should take 3 of the 4 places. That's almost assured, even just 5-6 games into the season for the post-season. And then it's a big battle for that 4th spot, which Altitude are holding on to just now, with TSS Rovers breathing down their necks. So that's exciting. In the men's division, it is wide open just now. It's crazy. There is just 3 points separating 1st to 7th, with the top 4 teams going into the postseason, and whoever finishes first, unless it's the Whitecaps, taking that spot in the Canadian Championship next year. So a lot to play for in League One. There's been some great games. If there's a team near you, if you can get out to one of those games, please go and do that and support your local team. But that is it pretty much for the show. We've still got this week's Wavelength to bring you. I'm bringing you a song from just last year, from an Australian band, although it's more a solo artist, but they're called Sir Robert Orange Peel, and they've had a couple of football albums out. This was one they brought out from just before the World Cup. It's a lot of kind of instrumental music with samples from various football things in it. I love those kind of songs. This song is sampling the commentary from Gordon Banks' famous save in the 1970 World Cup when he denied Pele and England were playing Brazil. And I'm going to dedicate this song to Emil Gazdoff and to Thomas Hassal. This is Sir Robert Orange Peel, Old Safe Hands.
Only left foot was standing.
Carlos Alberto. That's dangerous. Giardino. Already left Cooper standing. Hooray! What a save! George Banks. Take that out of the net. And that's the danger for England. Split by a quick trade. And this the save of the World Cup.
Sir Robert Orangepeel there, old safe hands, all about goalkeepers, how some teams would like a pair of safe hands just now. That is it though for the show. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, Will, for joining us this week. Just before we go, any final thoughts from you, Will? Anything funny caught your eye? Anything you want to share? Where can folk find you online?
No, I mean, it's was a great week for football with the Premier League and with the Bundesliga and CPL. And man, I'm going to miss European football, but we still got MLS and we still got CPL and BC League One. It's a good time to be a football fan. And people can catch me on Twitter at William A. Silver.
So much football. The European Under-17 Championships are on just now. The
Gold Cup
Under-20 CONCACAF or World Cup. You've got the men's Under-20 World Cup. Talking of World Cups, are you all excited for the World Cup that's coming up next month? It's live on DAZN.
Darts?
Yes. I've renewed DAZN for a month just so I can watch the Darts World Cup and the English playoffs. There's a game tomorrow, I've just remembered.
I'd like to see the Stop Oil people glue themselves to the dartboard.
I think folk would throw darts at them.
Yeah, they would. I watched, I PVR'd and I've watched the first about hour of Jade Herdman's final groups match at the World Cup against the host Argentina.
I haven't seen anything of that yet. I did watch the second game where Jay got a goal.
Oh, nice. Okay, I haven't seen that.
Oh, yeah, nice goal from him.
Why did he start on the bench then against Argentina? I think he came on right at halftime. But
interesting. Yeah, he got a banger against Uzbekistan, but Uzbekistan got a stoppage time leveler. Yeah. So yeah, I'm a little bit behind from being away in the island last week, so I've got a lot of games in the PVR. I'm just going to have to fast forward through. Well, it's just not enough hours in the day.
All I'll say is there's some bangers in the Argentina game.
And I think I might be knowing where they're coming from. I love me a good Argentine banger. R.I.P. Eva Perón. Any final thoughts from you, Zach?
I don't know how to follow that up, Michael. Oh my.
Just don't cry.
Oh my, that's so bad. You can find me on Twitter at ZachAM. If you're not at WFC2, come to the Vancouver FC Pacific match on Friday night.
Yeah, support your local team, depending what side of the river you're on.
Yes.
But no, seriously, come. It should be good times. If you need tickets, we have some. Fraser Valley Fanatics or fvfanatics@gmail.com or on the socials.
It's not sold out?
No.
Disappointed it's on a Friday, I've got to say. I know the other ones are on a Saturday, but I think they all should have been. And I know why. And we've talked about it before. Yeah. It just doesn't sit right with me that you've got a local derby that, having endured the ferry, although it was beautiful, if you saw my photos from the sunset coming back from the Nanaimo on Friday, and all the ferries left in time, it was great.
So one thing just to jump in, it's not great, but the Whitecaps and Seattle had games on like Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so it's better than that.
Yeah,
I mean some of those were the best games to be at.
Yeah,
Kikuta with his midweek hat trick. And I've got to say, from watching Kikuta in the flesh twice now, this month, he is a shadow of his former self. He's living on past glories. There were so many Whitecaps fans going, "Oh, I'd love him back." Why? Have you not watched him in the last 5 years?
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. I noticed that in the V's Cup match this week when he came on.
Just does not look. Doesn't have the same swagger, the same pace, anything.
No.
But it happens to us all as we get older. Maybe by the time we get to episode 1000, we won't have the same swagger. I'll still be banging out wavelengths so that annoy everyone and have an artist of the month that no one likes. And we'll have a new one coming up next episode because it's a new month. Until then, as always, thanks for listening. Take care and just enjoy the feast of football.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
AFTN